Hi, my name is Aaron Peterson. I'm one of the innovative education facilitators here at DDSB. This is another one of our bite-sized PDs. This is going to be a short video kind of walking you through how you can set up a Google form and then use Google Sheets to make anecdotal notes and observations and sort them and filter them in meaningful ways. Here we go. Let's get started. All right, so to get started, we're going to start by building a form. If you've never used Google Forms before, it's a simple tool for collecting information. Now, usually when we think of using a form, we think of sending it out to other people and collecting that information back from them. But using it for anecdotal notes means we can use it as a way to collect information from ourselves. So to make notes, take observations as we go about teaching in our classrooms, and then analyze that information later. So to get started, I'm in my Google Drive. I've made a folder for myself where I'm going to store this. This is all up to you where you put this. And then I'm going to go to my New button and choose More and get to Google Forms and make that new form. I'm going to go ahead and title this. So I will call this my math comments. Or you could call it math observations, whatever you want, whatever subject you're looking for. This is all changing or all saving automatically in my Drive here. If I want to change the title of the form itself or the title of the file itself, I just click here and it's going to take from the name of my form. Now we want to think about while you're walking around a class and you see students doing something, you want to take note of what they're doing. So we want to start building out what kinds of things we want to collect from them. So the first thing I'm going to want to collect is the student's name. I don't want to ever fill out a form and not have it attached to a student's name. That would be a waste of my time. So I'm going to make name. I'm going to make this question required. And by default, automatically, Google sees that it's a name and they make it a short answer question thinking you're going to type it in. If I want to save some time though and make this information more filterable later, I want it to be consistent data. So I'm actually going to change this to a drop-down menu so that I can use it on a mobile device really quickly and not have to type students' names in. And then I'm going to put my names in. So I could do this a few ways. I could type this in, putting in each of my options. Or if I want to save some time, I can actually go to a spreadsheet. If I have my names, if I have my class list already in a spreadsheet, and I can just select a group of names, copy it, go back over to my form and paste it in option 1, and it will see every cell as a new line. So it's actually separated all those out as new choices. So I've got all my student names in very, very quickly. It's always handy to keep a spreadsheet of your current class lists for little tasks like this. Next, I'm going to want to put what strand we're working in. So again, these questions could be whatever you want, but I'm going to choose to note the strand. Again, I can type each one in if I want to, or I can pull from a list. I've got a list already prepared. So I'm just going to jump here and grab my math strands. Again, pasting those in makes them multiple choice. Now, there's two kinds of questions here. They're both multiple choice questions, but this one was called a drop down, and this one is called multiple choice. The reason I chose the first one to be a drop down is because it's a very long list. So if I preview this with the eyeball at the top, you'll see the name is hidden here under this list. I click the drop down, and that's going to save me a lot of space on my form, so I'm not scrolling as much up and down, especially if I'm filling this out, say, on a phone or a tablet. Then my strand, I might show myself all of them, or if I'd rather, I could change that to a drop down as well to save space. When I want to add a question, I just use the plus button here on the right, add a new question, and I might make this the achievement level. Now I might make this level 1. Oh. Sorry about that. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Now, not all my observations I'm going to categorize into a level, so I'm going to leave that one not required. That just reminds me I forgot to make this required. I'm going to make myself put these into a strand. This one I'm going to leave not required because sometimes I won't be leveling that. I'll just be noting without that. My next question that I'm going to put in is going to be my notes or observations. And this one I'm going to make a paragraph. So Google did this automatically for me because they saw notes. So they're going to give me a lot of space to write here. And I'm also going to make that required. I'm going to force myself to make a note or observation if I'm going through this much work. And then my last question is going to be evidence of learning. And I'm going to make this a file upload. Now, file upload, you just have to agree to this. File upload allows me to add in photographs, video, artifacts, things like that, so that I could take a picture of the student's work or upload a short video of them talking and have it associated with this note or comment. If I'm worried about sharing this, I could specify the file types, but I'm going to leave it open. I could specify how many files you could add on here. Again, this is for myself, so I'm going to go ahead and increase these, and I'll go all the way up to 10 gigs on a file. I'll never use that space because it's gigantic. So 100 megs is fine as well. Now, this form can accept up to 1 gigabyte of files. That means by default, they're going to cap out this folder so it doesn't get out of control. If it became public, people wouldn't start spamming your files. We're going to protect that with security just by not giving this link to anyone. When it's done, we're going to keep this form for ourselves. So you can change that if you're worried about it, and you can change that all the way up to 1 terabyte if you wanted to. Give yourself some more space. In your DDSB Google Drive, you have unlimited storage space, so you don't have to worry about it. Once you've got your form kind of set out and you feel like you've got all the information you're going to want to collect, you can preview it with the eye at the top of the form and see if it looks the way you want it. So I would fill it out using my drop downs. I would pick a strand for the student, and then I would pick a level. I might make notes here. The more detailed and meaningful your notes or observations are, obviously, the better they will serve you later. This is just an example, and a poor one at that. And finally, you can add a file. So add a file is going to bring me an upload button, where if I'm working on the computer, I could upload something from my drive or something from my computer. If I'm working on a phone or a tablet, I could actually choose to take a picture or record a video right on a mobile device and have it go right in. Nice thing about uploading a file or a form on your mobile device is that it doesn't actually go on your camera roll. So when you do it on a form, it goes right into your Google Drive, so you're not storing student work or student photos or images on your personal device. It works really well. And when I'm done, I would go ahead and click Submit and put that into the form. And there's a link here to submit another response that lets me go right back out to the form and add more comments in for another student. Now, the real power of this is that once I'm done and I'm in a form editing mode, when I've used it, I can use that information and collect it another way. So you'll see I have one response here. If I go in to the responses, it's going to summarize it like this, response by response. This is not very helpful to me as a teacher, because if I collect hundreds of observations or notes over the course of a term, it's going to be very hard to figure out what this means. So if you click this little green flag here to create a spreadsheet, this is the Google Sheets button, it's going to make a new spreadsheet for yourself. This means you can analyze the data a lot better. I'll show you an example of what I mean. So here I've got a form that I've been filling out as a demonstration. I've got my student names here, and it's collected all that information that I just put in that form. So I got my student name column, my strand, my achievement level, sometimes filled out, sometimes not. I have a comment that I've made, and then some of these I have photographs or videos attached to them. You'll see the link to the Google Drive file. Once I'm in here, the great thing about using this for observational notes is that I can filter it and analyze this data. So instead of collecting pieces of paper or flipping through my binder and kind of looking where is the student mentioned, where are the strands, and kind of collecting that piecemeal, I can get a little more analytical here. If I click the upper left corner box here, right under the function key, it's going to highlight everything. And then I can go over here and click create a filter. So it's this button that looks a little bit like an oil filter, a little triangle, upside down triangle. So I click that. It's going to add a filter button, this little green triangle, next to each column. And this is going to let me do some complex sorting. For instance, if I was only looking at one student, I might clear all the values and then just pick all the times I talked about Marie. And now it's going to filter out and just show me the comments about her. again, I can go back to select all and say, okay, maybe I'm making my marks for a certain strand or reviewing a certain strand. I could clear all of these and just pick measurement and see all the times I commented on measurement for all my students. Automatically, my students are sorted by alphabet, by last name, and I see just their measurement comments. This gives me a chance to really dig in and see the data. Great for reporting time, great for meetings with parents or reviewing with students, with student-led conferences, to see what's their trend. What are the most recent things that are coming up? What are the most common things that are coming up in your observations or notes? And how can you use that towards your assessment? So not just scores or numbers, but the content associated with those learning expectations. How are we going to apply that? What are our next steps for learning for that student? So that's how I would kind of analyze the data and use the data from a form like this into a spreadsheet and use the power of the filtering in the sheets to get to what I'm trying to look for. Now, the other thing that makes this really powerful is if we can use this form on a mobile device. So oftentimes you don't want to go back to your computer, you're walking around the class, you're helping students, and you want to make a quick note. So you might want to use your phone or use a tablet to do this. If you click on send, what you can do is you can email it to yourself, or copy this link and get this link to yourself somehow and load it onto your phone. So if I was to send this to myself, I'd find my email address and email it to myself. And when I fill this out, I'll say click send. That's going to let me open it up on my phone. And then once I get there, if I click the little share button, on iOS, it's a little square with an arrow pointing up. On Android, it's a different kind of share button. But you're going to share it and add it to your home screen once you've loaded that web page. Now you've got basically that comments form is in an app. It's an icon right on your phone screen. You can launch it at any time and add your comments. The other great thing about putting it on a personal device or a mobile device is that once you get down to this notes or observations field, anytime you click in a text field on a phone, you have the little microphone on your keyboard. So you can tap that and then you can dictate to your phone really quickly and speak your observations or notes. And it's much faster than having to type it in with your thumbs or go back to your computer to type it in. If it's not totally accurate, you can always jump into the spreadsheet of your results and do some editing in here. So these were all dictated notes, and some of them we might have to tweak or clean up a little bit, but they're enough to remind yourself what you were trying to say there and give you something to work with there. All right, thanks for joining me for this bite-sized PD. I hope that this gives you a tool to use in your classroom, make your workflow more efficient, and prove meaningful for assessment to improve your student learning. I'm going to include down in the description below this video a link to a document so you can walk through step-by-step on how to create your own forms and how to use that data later to filter and see the results. Check out the Bite-Sized PD playlist to find videos on all kinds of other topics, short, small, quick hitter videos that'll help you out in your classroom.